Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who, much like the England national team, is now making plans for the summer of 2019. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Those plans are just basically writing more dates onto an already crowded calendar.
Yep. So if people don't know, there's the UEFA Nations League semi-finals, which England will now be a part of. We're going to talk about England-Croatia in today's game. There's the Women's World Cup.
Yep.
There's the Copa America. There's the Africa Cup of Nations. There's the Gold Cup here in the United States. There's the Under-20 Men's World Cup in May. It's going to be a busy summer.
It is. But it's what we've become accustomed to, and it's good preparation for the summer of 2020 as well, where we won't be leaving the office ever.
Hooray!
Yay!
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Whatever. Family's overrated. It's fine.
All right, so today's show, we're going to talk England-Croatia. We're going to preview Italy-USA. I'm not sure how to phrase that game when it's going to be in Belgium.
Yeah, it's odd.
In Genk. It's the sequel. I'm going to talk U20s. The U20s beat Costa Rica 4-0 with an impressive performance that I'm excited to talk about. So that's what's coming on today's show.
All right. Should we get to England-Croatia then? Which I'm assuming is just going to be you happily bouncing up and down for 20 minutes?
I mean, I've been doing it since the game.
You have.
So yes. You were with me when I found out the score, weren't you?
I told you the score because you were too nervous to look at your phone because last you had checked, Croatia were winning 1-0.
Yep.
You seemed a little down. I always felt like England were going to get the results. So I think that's why I was a bit more brazen in my phone checkery.
I was actually not to get too deep into this, but we had a fairly important game.
We did.
in our local league. I was trying not to be distracted. So once I walked away from the England game to play in our game, I deliberately thought, not going to think about it, not going to even check at half time, going to wait till after our game.
There we go. Yeah. And you were rewarded with a victory.
Yes.
Did you see that coming? Did you feel like it was in the cards, or were you a little bit more nervous before you walked away?
So for the England game, I was nervous that England have made a lot of progress in the since the World Cup and have been doing things correctly and playing in a way that I've found really exciting. And the reward would be getting relegated from League A in the Nations League.
Yeah.
So I was really nervous of getting bad outcomes from doing good things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even a 1-1 draw would have relegated England from the top Nations League.
Which is the weird aspect of three-team groups. I wanted to ask you really quickly, forgive me for turning this into a Daryl Grove interview, but I'm fine with it. When you say they've been doing things correctly after the World Cup, what do you mean by that?
So they took the core of what the team at the World Cup, they tweaked the formation from the 5-3-2 to the 4-3-3, so it was a bit more expansive, a bit more confidence, and have introduced some exciting new young players like Jadon Sancho. You know what I'm saying? I was going to say and Callum Wilson, but he's at 27.
Yeah,
right? You know what I'm saying? They've not just kept going with the same thing. They've evolved since the World Cup in what I think is a positive way.
I would agree with you. And I would add, I think Football Weekly, they were making the point that this isn't necessarily the strongest England team in terms of overall talent. There have been teams that had bigger stars.
Yeah, that team was terrible.
That's the thing. But even they were saying that you can have a few players that are global stars, global superstars, but then maybe a stronger lower level of the team. Whereas this one, it felt like you can bring on one player who's very good. Joe Gomez can be in there, replacing Harry Maguire, who wasn't in the squad.
Maybe permanently after what we saw.
Or if Kyle Walker is injured or has a bad game, you can bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold. You have a lot of depth in a lot of positions in a way that you maybe haven't before.
Even Kyle Walker was starting really because Kieran Trippier is injured. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I actually think to get us to the game, the 2-1 win,
if we must,
one of the key beneficiaries of this new England thing of almost like the system over the individual stars and people fitting in it. Fabian Delph starting as part of the three-man central midfield for England, which I assume on Southgate's part was a determination to make sure we weren't too creative and had a lot more sort of defensive midfielders in midfield to start, right? Because it was Eric Dyer, Fabian Delph, and then Ross Barkley is the more creative of the three.
That makes sense. And I think what I'm about to say makes sense as well, but buckle up just in case. Is that I feel like in teams past, if this were a Roy Hodgson team, that if you had Fabian Delph starting, there would be this sort of oh my god, he's playing Fabian Delph for real? That's what we have to offer. But because, and I would say it goes back to Pep Guardiola and the way it sort of has been finding new ways for these players to play and new positions and new roles for them to play within the team, that then you look at what Fabian Delph has done for Man City in the past few years, and it makes sense for him to be in this team, but then it's also Gareth Southgate kind of continuing that of, if you fit the system, if you do what I need you to do, it's why Chris Smalling isn't there, but it's why Fabian Delph is there, is because he fits in. And so again, I think that's representative of England doing the right things, as you said.
And the USA helped, right? Fabian Delph had a really good performance against the US, and it helped him start in this. Okay, so maybe let's get to the goals, right? Because we don't want to go too deep and spend 30 minutes on this game, but it started badly. No, actually, it started well for England in the first half. We maybe had a couple of chances. Harry Kane, that flick on that he just missed at the far post. He puts Raheem Sterling through, and that classic Kane comes deep, holds up the ball, flicks it through for Sterling, but still 0-0 at half-time. And then Croatia score in the second half. Kramaric makes John Stones dance like it was a Western and he was shooting bullets at his feet. All those drag backs and cuts. Stones was all over the place, trying everything to get a block. In the end, Kramaric deflects it off of Eric Dyer and puts it past Jordan Pickford.
I know you don't play video games, so I know that's not a reference to Red Dead Redemption. Is that like Westworld? Is that what brings Cowboys dancing to mind?
I was imagining just a more... Maybe even a cartoony.
Okay, I'm just curious, like what
cowboy.
You've watched recently that brings about a cowboy reference. And my assumption would be Westworld.
Yeah, but that specific thing didn't happen in Westworld. Right. You know what I'm saying? The thing about like dance.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's just not a usual thing. Usually, I can get your references of like that's a weird British sitcom from the 1980s that I don't know anything about. This time, I was like, wait a minute. Someone's been watching some cartoons.
Yeah, there's no Young Ones references or anything in this. But yeah, great goal from Kramaric. We both spotted.
Wait, Young Ones. Is that a British show?
Yeah, you never heard of it?
No, because I thought maybe you were mistakenly referencing Young Guns, which is another Western, and I was like, that could apply here. All right, anyway, I'm sorry. Back to the game.
So as Kramaric is doing his drag backs and his dancing and eventually scoring, Ivan Perisic is just to his left, pointing at his own feet, just gesturing for the ball. And I think he's doing it so long that he's even mad when Kramaric shoots.
A little bit.
And there's like 2 seconds where he's still mad after Kramaric has scored.
Yes, I think so. I mean, or at least is sort of incredulous in the effort. But he
does eventually celebrate.
He does. But it's a good reminder of why you want creative players who are comfortable with the ball at their feet, especially inside the 18, because if you're an England defender there, you don't want to overcommit, obviously for fear of getting beat, but if you're too aggressive, there's a chance that ball's not there, but a foot still is. You make contact, and it's a penalty. And so I think that's why you did see John Stones doing the cowboy dance, because he didn't want to overcommit, but he also didn't want to give up any clear-cut shooting opportunity. And so because of that lack of commitment, it buys Kramaric time to cut back and forth, and then eventually find a shooting opportunity and eventually find a deflection as well.
Do you think in the Old West, Stones would have been referred to as a tall drink of water?
Yeah, probably. That checks out.
And just to give Croatia full credit, Vlasic, his cutback that beat Joe Gomez to find Kramaric, I thought was very, very smart. Because Gomez actually took a decent angle on it, and I think would have had him closed down. So Vlasic just made the smart decision to essentially play the ball early so that Gomez couldn't get to him.
And the whole sequence, I forget who it was. It was a substitute who came on who plays in Vlasic in the first place.
Yes.
But like that whole sequence was a good reminder of what Croatia offer on that counter, on that like the threat of the counter, the technical ability in there. But I feel like the awareness and confidence in their own ability and in the players around them, this being Croatia, that it was just a good reminder of like this isn't just a Croatia team that happened to fluke their way into the World Cup final.
Yeah.
This is a very good Croatia team that can put together 4 passes and suddenly you're down 1-0.
And they were even down a couple of players, right? Yeah. Ivan Rakitic, injured, could not play in this game. That's a big miss for them. And then Vrsaljko, the right back, getting injured quite early on, I think is a big miss for them.
I mean, it's what we talked about in our World Cup previews, that he is their right back and there aren't really many other options. So as soon as you remove him from the equation, you're taking away a senior leader who does a good job of getting forward and helping attack.
Isn't he quite young, but also he's very influential on the team?
Exactly, yeah. Well, quite young in the like modern sense, yes. But
he still knows the modern music.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, when you remove him,
he's not listening to Slaven Bilic's band.
He might be. You don't know how these things work. You don't know what's popular in Croatia right now. But he also. You lose a piece that organizes that defense, and maybe that factors into England's 2 goals.
Yes. All right, let's talk about England's 2 goals. First, maybe let's talk about the changes that Gareth Southgate made. I quite liked how we talked about how it was a bit more conservative to start, and he sort of made some attacking changes, right? Essentially bringing in Dele Alli to play in central midfield. He brought on Jadon Sancho, and he brought on Jesse Lingard.
Decent substitutions.
And in the end, that was all quite important.
It sure was.
Yeah.
So you want to start with the first goal for England?
Yeah, the equaliser in the 78th, I want to say. It's actually before, it's a Joe Gomez throw, it's a John Stones flick on. It's a Harry Kane shot, and then Jesse Lingard finishes it
Jesse
off.
Lingard screamer from distance.
It's a banger.
/ tap in from 6 inches out, yes.
But before all of those things happen, there's a really nice sequence involving Jadon Sancho and Dele Alli. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, because rewatching with the American commentators, Taylor Twellman, as this play is developing, is talking about England's lack of urgency, and it doesn't feel like they're really trying to get numbers forward.
It was a bit of the Eric Dyer as your central playmaker slowness was happening in the middle of the field for England.
Exactly,
right?
But it's a good reminder.
Not too much, but just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But with this England team, you can go from 0 to 100 very fast because of those playmakers you mentioned. And in this sequence, that's exactly what it is. It feels like England are sort of kind of on the verge of doing the Iceland, like pass and pass and pass and pass and pass, and never find a penetrating through ball. And then there's a penetrating through ball, and that, I believe, is from Jadon Sancho. Then he makes that run off, and it leads to a corner kick.
It's so Dele Alli makes you can see him waving his arm in the air, making a running behind. But Jadon Sancho does that thing again where he proves once again he's not just a dribbler.
Yep.
He is, I want to say he's getting towards elite at waiting a pass. It's almost like he rolls it in, like he's playing bocce ball or curling or something, you know, and you've got to get the weight just right to land it exactly where you want it. Puts that ball in for Dele Alli, who tries to cross.
Dele Alli did have a broom with him too, so I'd say the curling one was pretty accurate. Yeah, it's a strange thing to have on the field with you at any given moment.
So England corner kick, Sancho takes it. His seniority has gone from 0 to 100 pretty fast, right? He's taking set pieces from the right. It's headed out, and then you get that Joe Gomez throw in.
Yeah.
Okay, big throw.
Yeah.
Did you know Joe Gomez could do that?
I did not.
I did not either.
I mean, maybe Joe Gomez didn't until Liverpool hired a throw-in coach?
I do wonder that. I haven't seen any stories about it, but I wonder how much that Liverpool throwing coach, if he had any influence on Joe Gomez's throwing game.
I mean, even if it was just the mechanics of how to make that ball go a little bit farther, maybe using some tactics that aren't necessarily legal when it comes to throwing the ball. Maybe using more one arm than the other.
Yeah.
But either way, it's a mammoth throw.
It's a little bit like a half-court shot.
Yeah, kind of. But I think, like, Daryl Grove, I will say, is not always a huge fan of the long throw because it can just be that sort of like, everybody get in the box, we'll just throw it in there and see what happens. I think when you have the long throw combined with what appears to be a pretty defined approach to how to deal with a long ball into the box if you're attacking it from England, I think that was probably the difference maker here.
Yeah, so we knew this from the World Cup. We talked about this in the England-USA preview, right? England have designed set pieces. And master set piece theatre, I would call it. And I think there's a very specific thing they do where they aim for John Stones. Harry Kane drifts away from the action to the back post and essentially almost always loses his marker or goes unnoticed. Croatia were playing a zone, right? So he would have a man marker, but goes unnoticed because everyone's focused on John Stones. John Stones doesn't head at goal. He nods it to the left for Harry Kane at the back post.
And maybe this is too much like overanalysis, but you know, it's what we do. But it almost makes me wonder if we had that conversation, as you said, before the USA game about how do you defend that. And it feels like what Croatia have done is said, okay, we're not going to get into these kind of 1v1 grappling matches with Harry Kane where we could concede a penalty.
We're just going to leave him wide open.
Kind of. It felt like they're like, all right, we're going to go full zone. We're just going to attack the ball where it goes. We're going to make sure we're the ones to win it. Which is a risky strategy because if you're not the ones to win it, then you've left a person open at the back post. And it had happened in the first half.
In the 12th minute, if you want to see. It's the one where Harry Kane sort of leans back and volleys and just misses it. But the same thing happened. Corner kick, John Stones header, not at goal, to the far post, Harry Kane wide open.
Harry Kane wide open. Gets a sort of deflected-ish shot.
Yeah.
We watched this a bunch of times. Still not 100% sure that Jesse Lingard needs to tap this one in. Yeah. But I will say that who's the goalkeeper? Was it Kramaric, the goalkeeper, or Kalinic, the goalkeeper? It was a weirdly familiar name for their goalkeeper.
Kramaric is the striker.
Yeah, I know he is, but I feel like it was a similarly named goalkeeper. Could be wrong, but I feel like that's what I remember. Either way, he gets the inside of his right foot to it as he's diving out to kind of try to block Harry Kane. And so I do think that foot does sort of make the ball deflect, and you could make the argument that it's rolling not quite parallel to the goal line, but enough that maybe it hits off the post, or maybe somebody runs through and kind of gets a foot on it, makes it clear.
Yeah.
So Jesse Lingard maybe needs to put that through. Even so, I bet there's going to be some playful banter in the locker room about how that should be Harry Kane's goal.
I would say if this game was 4-0, that would be something Jesse Lingard would kind of maybe shield the ball and let it roll in.
Yeah.
At 1-0 down
and
facing relegation from the Nations League, Group A, you smash that in.
Yeah, and this was and this is strangely the thing that I really rewatched a whole bunch was trying to figure out why doesn't he shepherd this one across? And I think, one, something could go wrong, but two, you could then make the argument that he's not actively trying to play the ball because he's trying to see what happens to it. And so there is an argument that if he's trying to shepherd it and somebody barges into the back of him, or Jesse Lingard backs up to make sure somebody can't get the ball, that maybe that's obstruction, and then suddenly a goal is not given.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm glad he did.
In that half second,
we shouldn't even really be debating it.
No,
right?
we
just finish it. Just make sure.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was just because in the moment I thought, ooh, is there a chance that he was offside, and thus he's negated what would have been a goal?
Lovren looked at linesman and then looked very disappointed.
Lovren did a lot of things in this game, most of them angrily.
And then 7 minutes later, Harry Kane does get a goal.
Yeah, he does.
From that Ben Chilwell free kick from the left. But it starts with another thing you highlighted in our England-USA preview. Jordan Pickford distributing from the back. Not just distributing, serving balls up.
It's absurd. And I think it was Twellman in the commentary said, like, it's kind of a hopeful ball forward from Pickford. I don't think it is. I think this is a thing that he knows. He knows his range of distribution. He knows where he's putting this ball. But just the way it goes.
He knows Chilwell's on the run.
Exactly. And just the way it drops so perfectly. Like, certainly he didn't hit this one, aimed it perfectly so that it drops within a half second of where it needs to be. But it's enough, I would guess, memorization and running the play over and over again that he knows where to distribute that ball to cause problems. And that's exactly what he does, because Croatia are kind of caught out, don't want to risk giving up a counterattack or giving up a sort of breakaway situation.
Well, they want Chilwell to get down the line, right? So they take him down.
So then I think it's Jedvaj is a bit too aggressive, takes him down, and you've got that free kick.
And then Chilwell serves in the free kick. Harry Kane sort of slides across the front and scores. I was really interested in this because Chilwell had taken corner kicks from the left and taken free kicks from the left all day. And the general consensus amongst the people people commenting on Twitter, commentary team, everybody, was that the service was no good because he kept hitting the first man, essentially. And what I realised on this goal is I think that was the plan.
Right.
Not to hit the first man,
no,
but to
keep hitting him until he's black and blue and can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, okay. Some bruises.
Yeah.
I think the plan was to bend it around the first man so that it's a ball in low, which is a new problem for Croatia to deal with. And it finally pays off on this goal because that's how Harry Kane's able to slide in and meet it.
Yeah.
So I'm weirdly impressed that they stuck with it because it obviously wasn't working for the first 84 and a half minutes.
I would swing that around, though, and say that maybe the person who quietly doesn't want anybody to rewatch any of the footage of this game is Tin Jedvaj, because he concedes the free kick.
In the Tulsa Network. No,
he is, but he concedes the free kick, and then, as you said, I think he is the one tasked with cutting out that near post ball, and he is maybe a couple inches away from getting a foot to it. And so there is an argument to be made of maybe he should be making that play, given it's what England were doing the entire game. That he doesn't leads to a goal. Maybe he doesn't necessarily want to see that footage again.
Yep. I wonder if Southgate wants stuff rewatched as well, because that thing like the John Stones flick onto the far post, isn't that quite easy to figure out? I would feel like the next team to play England should know that that's coming and should just make sure to put someone at the far post to stop Harry Kane getting it.
I mean, that's one way, but then the argument is if you take somebody and put them at the far post, does Harry Kane adjust that run and cut inside of that person? So then do you need to have somebody man marking Harry Kane as well? And suddenly you've pulled two players away from just attacking that ball. Yeah. It's a difficult thing because as soon as you're the manager overly game planning for your opponent on set pieces, suddenly you're sort of dedicating to limited time that you have with your national team setup to focusing on how to defend specific types of set pieces as opposed to, say, how do we attack and make sure that we score goals.
Fair enough. Next move for England is, there'll be some other friendlies in between and stuff.
I would assume.
June 2019, the teams that finished top of League A in the Nations League, obviously you can't get promoted to another division. What you do is go to a 4-team UEFA Nations League semi-final to crown a Nations League champion. At time of recording, the teams we know will be there are England, Portugal, and, somewhat surprisingly, Switzerland.
Yep.
Switzerland beat Belgium, 5-2 to make it to the Final Four. We found out yesterday.
After being 2-0 down, no
less. Was it really? Yep. I haven't seen the game. Oh, that's exciting. Portugal's going to host. So June 2019, Portugal will host the 4 teams in the UEFA Nations League semi-finals. The final team to join them will be either France or the Netherlands, who both have looked very good. I think they play on Tuesday and Netherlands just need a point to make sure that they make it there.
All right. UEFA Nations League hotting up.
It is hotting up. Relegated Croatia.
Yeah.
Relegated Germany.
Yeah.
And then below that is a lot of ups and downs in League B, C, and D.
Indeed. And I think Poland knocked out of Group A as well. There's one more in there that I forget, so I apologize to whomever that might be. But I guess we should talk a little bit more European powers, because we've got USA, Italy to talk about.
Yes.
But first, we've got to talk about today's sponsor.
Yes, we do. We get to talk about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Greats, Brooklyn's first sneaker brand. It's very on brand for today's show because we're going to preview Italy versus the United States. Greats is based in Brooklyn, made in Italy.
That's right. So you've got the designs in Brooklyn sent to the local Italian manufacturer where they make them by hand.
The experts, the artisans.
And they hold up as a result because the designs are great. The stitching and the putting together, I don't know the proper terminology.
Putting together, it's not that, I guarantee.
The cobbling? Question mark? It's all...
My Royales are put together very nicely.
I mean, I'm wearing them right now. They're still white. They're still holding up. They are still very comfortable. They are still my favorite shoes, I would say.
They are very comfortable. It's the interior leather. I feel like I'm describing a car, but this interior leather is nice and soft and just grips your foot very comfortably.
It is, but there's also not to go full, is it Boris the Blade from Snatch? But
it's been a while.
They feel kind of heavy at the same time. They're lightweight, but still heavy enough. Yeah. And heavy is good, heavy is reliable. If it doesn't work, you can always hit them with it.
I see.
They have that sort of weight to them that tells you there's a little bit more quality there than, when you wear the ones that these soles are very hollow and I feel glued together, and if I were to pull them apart, it would be very easy to break apart. Greats does not have that feeling. They feel like they're compact and stitched and well put together that you're not going to have a lot of loose threads and things like that.
So designed and sold in the US, put together in Italy.
That is true.
They're the opposite of Giuseppe Rossi.
There we go. That's well said. That's a probably more relatable analogy.
So the holidays are coming.
Yep.
Always a good time to buy sneakers for yourself or as a gift. If you would like to get 15% off your first purchase at greats.com, use the discount code TSS. So the code is TSS at greats.com for 15% off your first pair of Greats sneakers.
There we are. So thank you to Greats very much for sponsoring today's show and for keeping my feet fashionable and comfortable. That is also very much appreciated. But as you said, designed in America, made in Italy. Let's talk USA Italy, shall we?
Okay, so we're excited about Greats. Are we excited about Italy versus USA in Belgium?
Yeah.
It feels like one game too many,
It does.
Let's be honest about it. I guess the good thing is it's definitely the end of the no coach era, right? This is Dave Sarachan's last game of his contract. His contract expires in December. I think we saw against England the US get really pulled apart for not really having a tactical plan. The slight good news is that Italy have sent home a lot of their senior players.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think Roberto Mancini has said this is going to be a younger team. There will be changes from their game against their goalless draw against Portugal.
Yeah, which, by the way, is not what they wanted. Portugal defended beautifully, had a very specific plan, and Italy could not get through. Portugal got the point they needed. So Italy are disappointed, and they're looking to maybe refresh going forward.
Yes, but looking to refresh going forward by playing a younger team, we would expect. Worth noting, their most senior forward still on the roster, or on the roster period, I believe, was Federico Chiesa, 21 years old, 10 caps. So you're not looking at the sort of Francesco Totti, Roberto Baggio, these known...
They're definitely retired.
Nah, they can still probably come back and compete.
Well, I've got the list for you. Jorginho has been sent home. Insigne has been sent home. Immobile has been sent home. Chiellini has been sent home, right? So essentially, you're going to see a lot of kids played by Italy in this game.
And even a few of the kids who would have been played have been sent home.
Pellegrini was injured, right?
Pellegrini and Alessandro Florenzi also sent home, I believe.
Okay, so we will see, as far as I understand it, Moise Kean is a guy that I'm somewhat familiar with. Although, actually, he is not listed on the current roster, so maybe he's been sent back as well.
I think he was expected to start as of a couple days ago to be the starting center forward in a 4-3-3. I think that was the expectation because I think your front three against Portugal was was Insigne, Immobile, Chiesa. As you said, 2 of the 3 have gone home.
Oh, and one guy we've been told to look out for is Sandro Tonali of Brescia. I've heard him described as the new Pirlo.
I have heard that as well.
I'm going to say this. If he puts in a half-decent performance, we'll add him to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
That works for me.
Yeah?
That works for me. But and I think part of the reason why he's drawing that comparison to Pirlo is because the expectations appear to be that he'll start in the middle of the 4-3-3.
Okay.
I think basically...
So no Verratti? Because Verratti's still on the roster.
I think it'll be Verratti as more of like a number 8 in this one, with Tonali essentially replacing Jorginho and doing the kind of Jorginho role for Italy in a 4-3-3.
Got it. Okay, so it's going to be a young Italy, but with a couple of names that you recognise, right? Like Bonucci's still on the roster.
He is. I don't know if he'll play, but like one that definitely I would expect to play would be Gigi Donnarumma. I would imagine they'll keep that same goalkeeper.
Well, that's weird, right? Because he's like the youngest keeper by distance, but also the first choice keeper.
He's also, I feel like, the biggest goalkeeper in the world. I don't even know how tall he is, but I think because he's a little bit like wider, like he's got a bit more like muscle to him than a lot of like David De Gea, for example. He just looks enormous to me whenever he's in goal.
Well, let's hope he doesn't look enormous to the United States players.
Let's hope so.
So there have been changes to the US roster as well,
There have.
right? Weston McKennie has a small injury. He's gone back to Schalke. Luca Della Torre has been allowed to just go back to training with Fulham. Maybe because there's the new coach, Claudio Ranieri, so maybe they're doing him a favour.
That could be.
But also because maybe they don't think he's ready to play some senior football.
That could also be. And I think that's kind of, like, not to say that that's the same thing for Kenny Saif, who's also been sent home.
Yes,
but I think
injured, right?
Yeah, but I think it's more so that when you have a player who's probably not going to be on the game day roster, it sounds like Saif wasn't, it sounds like Luca De La Torre wouldn't have either, and then you're playing these games in Belgium, which is a hop, skip, and a jump for Kenny Saif, and then for Luca De La Torre, just get across that channel, and there you are. Yeah. Like, I think that's probably why they were sent home, as opposed to...
Saif was injured, I read.
Yeah, I think he was injured, but could still participate in training, but probably wouldn't be on the game day roster, there you go. But all I mean to say is that if Kenny Saif were playing for, say, Portland... I think he probably is still with the squad. It's just because they're in Europe that you have these players leaving, I think.
Also, confirmation, Anthony Robinson, we talked about he'd been spotted on crutches, sprained his ankle. He was just removed from the roster entirely, so you're not going to see Anthony Robinson. Good news for those who want to see talented young Americans play is Josh Sargent had a slight problem, right, for the England game, but apparently is in contention to play against Italy. This game, by the way, is Tuesday afternoon, 2:45 Eastern United States. It's on Fox Sports 1 and Unimas.
Alrighty. And with that in mind, I think maybe we see Villafana again, but we did see Shaq Moore sub on as a left back against England, so maybe that was a sign of what's to come, of Shaq Moore on the left, maybe Reggie Cannon on the right.
Well, okay, this gets to a really interesting point. Jorge Villafana is with Portland Timbers.
Yep.
They have playoff game.
They do.
So any Portland Timbers, Sporting KC, New York Red Bulls and Atlanta players have a playoff game Sunday night. This game is Tuesday night in Belgium. Do we expect to see Brad Guzan, Aaron Long, Tyler Adams, Jorge Villafana? Do we expect to see those guys take the field? Given that they have a big playoff game coming up.
Maybe a few of them. I think we see Ethan Horvath probably is my starter for this game, which means that we probably don't see Brad Guzan.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're playing in Belgium. He's kind of reestablished himself, both with club and then ideally with country. So I think we see Ethan Horvath. So no, I don't think we see Brad Guzan.
Okay.
The other ones I'm a little bit more mixed on, because I think Aaron Long, it would make sense, especially if you're seeing this from the lens of players that Dave Sarakin... he's not in competition for the senior gig, but maybe if he wants, if he wants to remind people of what he's done for the team, you might see Aaron Long come on as a reminder of I gave him his first national team cap or something like that. But I think given the playoffs,
also it needs to be maybe worth the trip for Aaron Long.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
I would go Miazga Long as my starting centre back.
That's what I had as well, but just on the off chance that he wants to rest Aaron Long and not risk him and make Chris Armas mad. Maybe Dave Sarakin and Chris Armas best buddies, and we just don't know it. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Miazga and CCV partnered.
Shot in the dark, Aaron Long left back.
Ooh, okay. I am surprised by how quickly I've come around to thinking that Aaron Long should be in the national team consideration pretty consistently. I've really enjoyed what I've seen, so I wouldn't mind seeing him wherever. But I do think we're going to see Matt Miazga one way or the other, just because of the reports that are coming out that Nantes, his club in France, not too thrilled with him.
Yeah.
It seems like they're trying to force Chelsea into recalling him, if you believe the reports today.
I guess January's coming, so he could roll the dice again and go somewhere else, right? But that's not good news for Matt Miazga's career.
No, it's not.
That should be a level he can play at.
And it should be. I think the argument I've seen is that Nantes replaced their manager. The first game he was in charge, they lost 3-0. Miazga gave up a penalty, kind of conceded possession that led directly to a goal. And so there's an argument that he's being scapegoated a little bit. There's an argument that some people don't like his overall behavior. There was the thing with Lenez, and then there was the thing with grabbing a player's nether regions last season that he kind of maybe has a reputation. Whatever that may be, it sounds like maybe his time with Nantes is coming to an end. So if you're Dave Sarachan in U.S. Soccer, you maybe want to use this as an opportunity to show everybody one more time, hey, he can play for the national team in a game that doesn't mean we get destroyed by England.
Available. Right? That's kind of the Matt Miazga thing. Like, hey, someone take notice. Okay, I want to ask a bigger picture question.
Sure.
What do we, as watchers, viewers, want to get out of this game? Right? Because we after the England game, I've given up hope of seeing any sort of really solid tactical plan that makes me think, oh, this is like a shape the US should play in the future. So what are we even hoping to see from the US? Is it just like young guys getting minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think
it's hard, right?
A hallmark, I would say a hallmark of what we've seen from Dave Sarachan is the first game of the 2-game friendly. They never look quite as strong as the second game, and so I guess I would expect to see that again, that maybe there's a little bit more preparation and planning, a little bit more of a cohesive game plan, and I guess that is the bare minimum of what I would like to see. I don't want to see Christian Pulisic running around and chasing the ball and kind of not being sure of what to do. Maybe we don't see him at all. I sure hope we do, and I sure hope we see him with a more clear idea of what he's being asked to do.
Here's the thing I'm hoping to see is to not see a defensive 4-4-2 with attacking wide guys.
Yep.
Because I feel really strongly that like Pulisic at right mid is not the same as Pulisic at right wing.
No.
And the same for Tim Weah, right? We talked about this extensively on the review show. Just watching those guys have to sit back and try and make decisions about when to step and when to not, and seeing them having to try and track players backwards. It's just the wrong thing, right? I would rather have had a more defensive-minded player out there than Christian Pulisic. I almost think I would, if we don't go with something that has Pulisic more advanced down the wing, I wouldn't mind seeing Pulisic almost like partner or play underneath Josh Sargent.
Yeah.
Something like that, just to see what happens.
Yeah, I think if Dave Sarachan wanted to make everybody happy, I don't even know, Romain Gall was not on the matchday squad against England.
That is the thing I want to see. I want to see Romain Gall in some way.
I think if
just a debut for Romain Gall.
If Dave Sarachan wanted to, if say the United States won 1-0 using the lineup I'm about to give you, I feel like he would be fondly remembered. Is if you had,
give me a lineup.
If you had Romain Gall on the left, Timothy Weah on the right, Christian Pulisic as your number 10, and Josh Sargent ahead, and then two midfielders, whoever you want to throw in there, probably
Helena, Costa, and Marky Delgado.
That is a possibility. I feel like Will Trapp is a possibility.
Oh, yeah.
And really, now that you've said that, I feel like an Acosta, Trapp, Delgado midfield is more likely than anything I've said previously.
Okay. I mean, I'd be okay if it's like a 4-3-3/4-1-4-1 where the wingers can actually get forward.
Yeah.
Right? If even the second half against England where we just decided, let's go for it, let's get a bit more aggressive, set our line high, go after people a bit more, I'd be okay with that as well. That would suit me. That would suit me nicely. I do think Sebastian Leget's going to play and probably start.
Good point.
Based on there's a story on US Soccer.
It's the way it goes,
about his comeback, right? And there is generally a feeling of when US Soccer highlights a player on their website or their social media, it means that player's in contention to play.
It does.
Yeah? Which is great. I actually like Sebastian Leget, and I'd like to see him get some minutes.
And I agree with everything you've just said.
Centre mid or right mid, either way.
Yeah, but it still, for me, is indicative of the approach to this game, which is I feel like we're not the only ones who are sort of like, meh, about this game.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And I think that they're going with the return of Sebastian Leget is indicative of it's difficult to find a bunch of really exciting stories about this team right now, given the situation. So I think that they're going with a return of an LA Galaxy player is maybe not surprising to me, but it still is it's not who's going to win the starting goalkeeper spot or anything along those lines. Yeah. It's not quite as dramatic.
All right, I'm digging deep for things I want to see. We mentioned Romain Gall. I think that's a big thing. I'd like to see Romain Gall debut at left mid or centre mid. Either one is good, or left wing. I would like to see Reggie Cannon get another run out, right? And the thing is, I know it's going to be Italy's sort of debutants and lesser experienced players. They're still going to be very talented players, right? These guys are still good enough to make Italy's roster, so that's worth being aware of. I expect them to have a lot of the ball, for example. So
it's also
to see Reggie Cannon get 90 or 60 against that level of talent, I think is a big thing.
It's also like a wounded, cornered animal a little bit in this Italy.
Italy or the US?
Italy. I mean, well, maybe both. But more specifically Italy, that it's an Italy that failed to make the World Cup.
US is an animal waiting for its owner to arrive.
that also,
we're at the pound.
Exactly.
Waiting for someone to pick us out.
Please save us.
Yeah.
Yes. But here it's Italy who did not make the World Cup. Then you've got Mancini coming in, Mancini not winning their group in the Nations League. It feels like this is him saying, okay, we're going to play the young players as a reminder of like what's coming through the ranks.
Yeah.
But I think with that, I would not expect them to be a sort of switched off, like, this game doesn't really matter, Italy.
Oh, no, these guys will be fighting for starting spots
will.
in the future, right? There are spots in Euro 2020 qualification up for grabs, essentially. So guys like Barella, who did start in the midfield three against Portugal, and the new guys coming in that we talked about, like Chiesa, this is going to be a big game for them to try and establish some first-team credentials.
Yeah. So if the United States comes in with a sort of like, but also Italy will probably be like, I think they're going to be wrong. So I'm more just hoping to see the United States rebound from what was not a good performance against England by getting any sort of result against Italy.
There we go. One final thing I'm looking for is...
High bar we're setting here.
Josh Sargent, again, for me, anytime he goes up against senior professionals is a reasonably new experience for him. If Bonucci plays, that's a great defender for him to try and match up against. But if it's Romagnoli or Rugani or some of the like second tier but still really talented,
Sergio Mancini,
Italian,
a possibility.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him at all. But I'm assuming he's good because he's on the Italy roster.
Well, those are two players, but sure.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Proof that I do not know that. But I think that's still a good challenge for Josh Sargent to see how he does against those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
100%. All right, so the United States will be taking on Italy, the final friendly of the Dave Sarachan era, we think, but certainly the final friendly of 2018. I did want to ask you, Mr. Grove, as a lead up to talking about our final advertiser on today's show, we want to talk a little bit about whose stocks have maybe been on the rise for the U.S. national team. But before we do that, we should probably talk about who that sponsor actually is.
I love that long intro.
I do what I do.
Today's sponsor is Robinhood. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFS, options, and cryptos, all commission free. So other places like charge you a fee whenever you make a transaction. Robinhood does not.
That's right. They strive to make financial services work for everyone, which means it's a non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence.
And we are in no position to be giving stock recommendations, but we can think of...
Can I just yell like buy, 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 sell, sell, sell? Does that work?
As long as you don't say any specific stocks before or afterwards.
Buy, 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 sell, sell, sell.
Who would you be buy, 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 sell, sell, selling stock in if you were investing in US national team players?
Probably Josh Sargent. For all the reasons you said, yes. I think Josh Sargent is the one that, especially because like Christian Pulisic, there's still the rumors linking him with a move to Liverpool with other bigger clubs. But his stock is already going to be a little bit expensive because he's established. I feel like Josh Sargent, you maybe can get more bang for your buck a year from now if you invest now.
Especially because he hasn't made his professional debut yet. So his stock still, I assume, can only be of a certain standard until he makes his professional debut.
Exactly.
Then it's going to skyrocket.
There we are.
I would say Christian Pulisic has damaged Dave Sarachan's stock.
You think so?
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Did you read his quote after the game?
Oh, no.
About saying, he said something like, Dave's doing, I've got it printed out somewhere, but I can't find it. Dave's doing his best, but like I'm really looking forward to when we, get a new manager in with a plan and a style.
Doing his best is not a great thing to say about a manager.
He was also apparently, Pulisic was not receptive to the idea that he was at fault for England's first goal when he didn't track Jesse Lingard, which again suggests that instructions were not properly communicated to him, which again...
We hope that's what it means.
Yeah.
We hope it wasn't Pulisic just saying like, nope, not my fault.
So I would be maybe buying stock in Reggie Cannon.
I think that's another good one.
Yeah.
Though he has made his debut both for club and country, obviously.
Yeah. But he hasn't supplanted DeAndre Yedlin.
He hasn't.
Yet. I think that if you look at stock graph charts, basically, I can see a thing where Cannon surpasses Yedlin.
Robinhood has easy to understand charts and market data. So there we go. It all connects.
So if you use the Robinhood app, I mean, it's designed for people who are not experienced with stocks. You will learn how to invest as you build your portfolio. So it's a good learning tool as well.
Best of all, Robinhood is giving listeners a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help build their portfolio. So sign up at soccer.robinhood.com. That's soccer.robinhood, all one word, .com.
We'll put the link in the show notes so you can click it and take a look for yourself. Thank you to Robinhood for sponsoring today's show. Okay, the present wasn't looking great against England.
No.
The future looked bright in the Under-20 Concacaf Championship / U20 World Cup qualifying.
There we go.
When the US Under-20s beat Costa Rica 4-0 in the first game of the final group stage. So before we get to this game, can we talk about that final group stage and what it looks like and how it's working?
Sure. I would say that this whole show is a good reminder that World Cup in 2026 is going to be confusing because three-team groups are going to be very difficult to figure out. I think even the graphic in England-Croatia was a little bit confusing.
It was wrong during the game, right? They took it down really fast.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this was another example of where things might get confusing because Costa Rica and Honduras had already played each other in the first game. The United States only needing like one win from those two games to make sure they made it to the World Cup.
So they have qualified, right? They've made it to the World Cup, but they haven't made it to the CONCACAF Championship final.
They have not.
Right? Because they need to win the group to do that. I will say, quick word on three-team groups. So far, so good, right? The various outcomes from that England-Croatia game, for example, kept it kind of exciting down to the wire.
It did, but I think like this is a good example of the other way it can go. When that first game is the draw, it really kind of quickly crystallizes what teams need to do. Because if the first two draw, here the United States gets a win against Costa Rica are done.
Well, but you're assuming that the win against Costa Rica was taken for granted and easy to do.
This is true.
I'm not sure that was necessarily the case. I think it just looked that easy because the US under-20s were so very, very good. I, for one, was very impressed by the under-20 performance in this game.
Oh, you're right. I think all I'm going back to is the idea that a three-team group is supposed to remove the idea of there being dead rubbers.
Yeah.
And here, essentially, unless the United States beats Honduras, 5-0, Costa Rica are done. So it's just more so like, okay, well, that's it for you guys. Good game. But you're absolutely right, though, that this was not a foregone conclusion when the whistle blew to start kickoff.
Yep.
But then the United States did what this United States team has done, which is score goals and not concede them.
But here's the more interesting part to me is I've watched a lot of the first stage where US was playing lesser opponents, and the soccer wasn't great. There was a lot of long balls, direct balls. It wasn't all that pretty. Against Costa Rica, it was a lot better to watch. It was really enjoyable even to see the US move the ball around the field quickly and confidently and skillfully.
Here's my question for you then.
Yeah.
Is there a chance, because maybe this is me just like wishful thinking, rose-tinted glasses, whatever, is there a chance that the United States knew that would be the case and sort of didn't want to risk having, like Ulises Yanez scores a goal in this game, looks very good, but also gets taken down, we think is injured, we're not sure how much he'll be able to play. So is there an argument that maybe in those initial group stage games, the United States didn't want too many players on the ball for too long for fear that maybe they just get taken out and kicked a whole bunch? So instead you go direct, you score your goals, and then you're through?
I think I half agree with you. When I talked to Travis about this on the Top Draw Soccer Show, which everyone should subscribe to, please, by the way, it was more that the opposition in the first group stage was kind of massed ranks of defence and trying to play the way through that. There's just too many bodies, and it was better to kind of just go fast on the counter or start from deep and hit balls out wide if you could to like Akinola or someone, and that was the best way to just get forward as quickly as possible and get up on top of their area as quickly as possible. So maybe it was just a way of combating a stacked defence.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But then I would say the comparisons to the England-Croatia game and the three-team group don't necessarily stop for me, because the other thing I would say, going back to the first Croatia goal, is that if you have a person on the ball in the box who feels comfortable with the ball at their feet, it can make defenders feel very uncomfortable.
Who are you talking about?
And it did feel like in this game, Alex Mendez and Ulises Yanez were two players who were very content to get the ball, go at the defense, and get into a position where now they're just inside the 18. The defender doesn't really want to commit for fear that maybe they commit a half second too late, take that foot out, and suddenly it's a penalty. And so there's a little bit standing off. And I feel like the United States, both in terms of U20 teams of times gone by, but also the current national team, you don't have as many players who kind of want the ball at their feet and want to go at defenders and make them make a mistake.
Here's my big takeaway from this game is the first three goals all involve a ball into the feet of Alex Mendez in central midfield, left-footed Alex Mendez. Mendez turning quickly away from pressure and playing the ball forward. Right? All of those three goals, the first three goals involve that. The fourth one is a Mendez free kick served into the box and Akinola heads it in. So Mendez, at the heart of midfield, he's one of the two number 8s, but he basically was the playmaker. Everything went through him.
It's true, including the first goal, because as you said, he turns and plays it forward, but then he's also the one who hits a cracker from outside the box.
I guess, plays it forward means he lasers it into the top left corner.
Yeah, there it is. But there was so much swerve on that ball that it's just so sweetly struck that it's going to have that movement to it the way a modern ball will when struck properly. And so I think that was, again, really telling to me that he kind of turns and goes at the defense, but then has the confidence to take that shot.
And it's not just any turn, though, right? It's like, I think it's a ball from McKenzie out the back, right? Along the ground, but pretty firmly. And Mendes does that. I call it the centrifugal turn, where you like spin and your force keeps the ball with you as you spin. But he gets away from like two defenders who would have been on his back, and suddenly it all opens up in front of him. I think it looks a lot simpler than it is. It's actually a really, really good move, and I'm super excited about Alex Mendes.
Oh, yeah. No argument here. I still think, strangely, with everything you said, because Mendes was probably the man of the match if we were going to decide one. The goal that stands out to me, though, is still the second goal from Julianez. And it's for what I said before, which is basically he gets the ball outside the box, dribbles in, cuts inside, pulls defenders to him. But again, they're all because he never takes like a big heavy touch that like it incentivizes that defender to make a play, make that slide tackle, get the ball clear. It's so close to his foot so consistently that nobody wants to go hurtling into a challenge, and so everybody's just trying to stand him up. But once I
think they're trying to show him outside as well. It's like a classic Iron Robin type thing where they want to show him outside, but he's refusing to go outside, and then they don't know what to do when he comes inside.
Exactly. So and that's key, because then he takes so many little touches that it's like nobody wants to commit, but everybody just kind of all the defenders keep stacking up and stacking up. So then when he shoots, he's got nobody really pressuring him, but it's enough players in front of the goalkeeper that it's also going to be kind of a screened shot. The goalkeeper's going to see late. Nobody can really make a play on it for fear that they're going to turn it into their own goal. So it ends up just being a near post goal from like 15, 16 yards out.
Yep, and that's not rare for Ulysses Yanez. So what I'm really excited now with this U20 team is we have some like trademark moves from the key players, right? So we have Alex Mendes always receiving and turning with his left foot. Even in the build-up to the Yanez goal, he does exactly that same thing. He lays it to Torres, Torres lays it to Yanez. And then you've got Yanez, on the left, dribbling inside and shooting and really putting people on the back foot in that way. So suddenly this U20 team now and these players are players we can start to get a really clear picture of and maybe start to be excited about that U20 World Cup and about the future of these players. We just need to add Efrain Alvarez into that trio to reunite them on the US national team. Well, they all played for the LA Galaxy Academy for people who don't know.
Getting a draw or a win against Honduras would maybe help with that, because then that would send the United States, who've already qualified for the U20 World Cup, but that would send them through to the CONCACAF Championship, the final, which would be the winner of Mexico-Panama in the other group. I'm
kind of hoping it's Mexico just because a US-Mexico final would be fun.
I'm just saying, then maybe Efrain Alvarez, United States, wins that game and suddenly he thinks, maybe the grass is a little bit greener over there.
So if you want to watch this US U20 team in action, if you're hearing this on Monday afternoon, this episode of the Total Sock Show, it's the US versus Honduras. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's on CONCACAFGO.com, which is improving all the time and is free. And it's also on Univision Deportes, I believe. So you can also catch it there as well. But US Under-20s, thumbs up.
Thumbs up indeed.
Oh, a couple of final things on this. Sebastian Soto has joined the team. Didn't score. I thought he looked kind of good, though. A lot of quite good pressure on the Costa Rican defenders when they had the ball and goalkeeper. And good, hold-up play in terms of just receiving the ball and holding it and sometimes just taking a foul. Right? So Sebastian Soto, a really good addition to this team.
Agreed.
As is Sergino Dest. Did you get an eyeful of him?
I did.
Do you know he wasn't supposed to start the game?
No, I didn't. I had him starting at right back.
Jalen Lindsay was supposed to start this game at right back, got injured in the warm-up. So Dest was just told, probably just a few minutes before kickoff, oh, you're starting. And then looked to me really, really dangerous. Looked like a winger, which I think is kind of what he is now for Ajax Young and U19s, and put Costa Rica on their back foot a lot as well.
I did feel bad, though, for Chris Richards, who was the third player brought in but did not get to play. Just because otherwise it would have been just Sebastian Soto and then maybe Serginho Dest and Chris Richards get games against Honduras. But instead, because of the change you mentioned, suddenly it's just Chris Richards sitting by himself, feeling sad.
But you can't argue with the performance of McKenzie and Real, the two defenders who played centre-back. They were perfectly fine.
They sure were.
Yeah, Chris Costa good too.
Even if Travis Clark doesn't like Real.
Is that right?
He talked about that on Top Drawer Soccer last week.
Like personally or as a player?
As a player. I don't think there's ever been any personal beef between the two. No.
Let's hope there never is. I hope Matt Rail's not listening. Travis Clark, I'm sure, will enjoy Matt Rail's game when he sees him the rest of the tournament.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so that game again, Monday night, and then hopefully we get to see the US in the final hopefully against Mexico. I don't know the date, but sometime later.
That works for me.
All right, Taylor, anything else to add before we wrap up this here Total Soccer Show?
Nothing else to add before we wrap up this here Total Soccer Show.
Okay, we'll be back Tuesday after the US-Italy game. We'll be glad to see the end of this little era, and then hopefully we'll have a new coach and a new future to talk about soon afterwards.
Correct.
Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.